Love begins quietly. A glance, a smile, a moment where two lives collide and suddenly the world feels lighter. We believe in its purity. We trust its promise. We let it carry us. Yet, love does not always remain what it first appeared to be. Sometimes it shifts, slowly, silently, until what once felt sacred becomes something darker. Betrayal rarely arrives in thunder. It comes in whispers. It hides inside small, repeated choices. It hides inside words unsaid, truths unspoken, desires unacknowledged. We imagine betrayal as a single act, a dramatic fall, an obvious wound. But more often, it is built brick by brick, through quiet lies, through hidden deceptions that erode trust, grain by grain, until nothing is left but suspicion and silence. Ask yourself, when did love, once alive, begin to suffocate? Was it the night you sensed distance yet stayed silent? Was it when your partner sought approval from everyone else but you? Or was it when both of you began pretending that all was well, while a gulf grew beneath the surface? The Stoics tell us, it is not what happens to us, but how we perceive it that causes pain. Betrayal hurts so deeply because it shakes the ground we stand on. It shows us how fragile trust can be, and how easily love can turn into its opposite. This is not a story about villains and victims. It is about truth. About seeing clearly what destroys relationships, not in dramatic explosions, but in quiet corrosion. In this journey, we will face 6 quiet lies, each one disguised as something harmless, each one powerful enough to unravel years of love. To see them clearly is to understand how betrayal begins. To name them is to reclaim your strength. Because love is not destroyed in one moment. It is weakened slowly, until deception feels normal and trust feels naive. So stay with me. Walk through these 6 lies. Not to condemn others, not to relive your pain, but to understand. To see where love bends into betrayal, and to discover how truth, once faced, can set you free. The nature of betrayal. Betrayal is not only about infidelity. It is not only about lies spoken in the dark. At its core, betrayal is the fracture of trust. It is the breaking of something invisible, yet essential. A relationship stands not on passion alone, but on the silent foundation of trust. When that foundation cracks, love trembles. It becomes uncertain. Even small doubts echo louder than words of reassurance. Think of a physical wound. The skin breaks. The body bleeds. With care, time, and patience, it heals. But betrayal is different. It does not bleed on the surface. It bleeds in the mind. It lingers in memory. The scar is invisible, yet it speaks every time you try to trust again. Why does betrayal hurt so much? Because it shakes what we thought was safe. It tells us, you were mistaken. What you believed in was not as solid as you imagined. That is the wound. Not the act itself, but the collapse of certainty. Epictetus said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The act of betrayal belongs to the one who betrayed. The suffering that follows belongs to us, born not from the act itself, but from our expectations. We expected loyalty. We expected honesty. We expected permanence in a world that changes every day. And when those expectations meet reality, pain is born. The Stoics remind us, pain is not always proof of cruelty. It is proof of misplaced hope. We thought someone else could be unshakable. We thought someone else could never fail. But they are human. They falter. They follow their own desires. The truth is uncomfortable. Betrayal hurts us not only because someone lied, but because we trusted without measure. We built our peace on the choices of another. We handed them the key to our inner fortress. And when they faltered, the collapse was ours to carry. So the nature of betrayal is not only external, it is also internal. It exposes the fragile places where we place too much weight on others and too little strength within ourselves. The pain of betrayal is real, but it is also a teacher. It shows us where our trust was blind. It shows us where our expectations became chains, and it points us back to the truth. No one controls your peace but you. No one owns your strength but you. The 6 quiet lies that destroy trust. Betrayal rarely begins with a single grand act. It begins with quiet lies. Small distortions, unspoken truths, the kind of lies that wear the mask of love yet corrode it from within. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "If someone deceives me, the loss is theirs, not mine. They have lost integrity. I still hold the choice to live in truth." These lies are not only what partners tell each other, sometimes they are the lies we tell ourselves. And together they create cracks that later split open into betrayal. Let us walk through 6 of them. 1. The lie of "I know what's best for you," the desire for control. At first, it sounds like care. I only want what's best for you. But hidden inside is control, a need to bend another person's life into your shape. When love becomes control, it ceases to be love. Because love does not imprison. It allows freedom. It honors the other's choices, even when we disagree. The Stoics are clear. No one can own another. We can only govern ourselves. To attempt to rule another's will is to wage a war you cannot win. Control breeds resentment. Resentment breeds distance. And distance ends with betrayal. The quiet lie of control whispers, "I know you better than you know yourself." But the truth is, every soul must walk its own path. The only mastery we are given is mastery over our own mind. 2. The lie of "I need something new," the hunger for novelty. Familiarity is not as exciting as the unknown. The thrill of something new often appears brighter than the glow of what has endured. So the quiet lie begins, "Maybe I need something different. Maybe love should always feel exciting." Seneca warned, "He who is everywhere is nowhere." The one who constantly seeks newness becomes a wanderer without a home. In marriage, the pursuit of novelty corrodes trust, because every longing for something else carries the shadow of rejection. The partner who feels insufficient begins to doubt their worth. And the one who craves novelty never finds peace, because the new becomes old the moment it is touched. The quiet lie here is that excitement equals fulfillment. But fulfillment is not in endless novelty. It is in depth, in staying long enough to see love's roots grow strong. 3. The lie of "If others approve of me, I am enough," the craving for validation. This lie lives in silence. It is not always spoken, but it is acted out in the need for attention, for praise, for external affirmation. When a person seeks constant approval outside the marriage, trust erodes quietly, because loyalty shifts from the partner to the crowd, from intimacy to strangers, from being present to chasing shadows of applause. The Stoics teach, your value is not granted by others. It is chosen by you. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Better to seem unremarkable in the eyes of others than to abandon your soul in the search for their praise." The quiet lie of external approval whispers, "If they like me, I am worthy." But worthiness is not borrowed. It is lived. The moment we anchor our value in other people's opinions, trust becomes fragile, because no applause is ever loud enough to quiet the insecurity within. 4. The lie of, "If I gain wealth and status, love will follow," the worship of possessions. Many marriages collapse not because of lack of affection, but because of misplaced ambition. The belief that wealth, success, or recognition will secure love. So hours are traded for status. Moments of intimacy are sacrificed on the altar of achievement. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." Yet, the quiet lie insists, if I have more, I will finally be enough. If I achieve more, my marriage will thrive. But love does not survive on the scraps left over after ambition. It needs presence. It needs attention. No amount of wealth can replace the warmth of being fully seen by the one you love. The quiet lie of wealth and status destroys trust because it shifts the center of gravity. The marriage is no longer the anchor. The ambition is, and the partner becomes secondary, waiting in the shadows of pursuits that never end. 5. The lie of it's easier to run, the desire for escape. When hardships come, the quiet lie appears. It's too heavy. I can't bear this. It's easier to leave. This is the desire for escape, to run from difficulty rather than face it. The Stoics did not deny hardship. They trained for it. They embraced discomfort as the path to resilience. A marriage that endures is not one without storms. It is one where both stand in the storm together. The moment one runs, the other stands alone. And aloneness breeds betrayal. The quiet lie here is that freedom lies in escape. But true freedom is the courage to remain, to face the burden with dignity, to prove that endurance itself is a form of love. 6. The lie of, I am not responsible, the refusal of ownership. This is perhaps the most dangerous lie. The belief that responsibility always belongs to the other. That's your fault. That's your weakness. That's your failure. When no one claims responsibility, trust dissolves. Because trust requires accountability. To say, yes, I failed, but I choose to repair, I choose to rebuild. The Stoics teach radical responsibility. To own not the world, but our response to it. In marriage, the refusal to own mistakes is itself a form of betrayal. Because without responsibility, there is no repair. The quiet lie says, it is not my problem. But the truth is, every bond requires both to carry it, both to mend it, both to fight for it. These 6 lies rarely roar. They whisper. They slip into conversations, into decisions, into silences. And by the time they are exposed, trust has already eroded. The Stoic way is not to live in fear of betrayal. It is to live in awareness. To see the quiet lies before they grow strong. To confront them with honesty. And to replace them with discipline, dignity, and truth. How to rebuild trust and dignity. Trust, once broken, feels impossible to restore. It shatters quickly. It heals slowly. And yet, the Stoics remind us, the wound of betrayal is not the end. It can be the beginning of wisdom. Trust is not rebuilt by words alone. It is rebuilt by character, by discipline, by actions that repeat themselves until they form something unshakable. Here is the Stoic framework, not an easy path, but a clear one. 1. Radical honesty, with yourself first. Epictetus taught, it is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. If you lie to yourself, you cannot rebuild. When betrayal happens, the first instinct is denial, to point outward, to say, they ruined it, or I am the victim. But the Stoic practice begins within. Radical honesty means facing your own part, however small. Did I ignore warning signs? Did I avoid hard conversations? Did I expect perfection where it could not exist? Radical honesty does not excuse betrayal. It gives you the ground to rebuild dignity. Because dignity requires truth, and only those who stand in truth can hold trust again. 2. journaling, writing the fractures. Seneca wrote letters to himself. Marcus Aurelius wrote meditations. Why? Because the act of writing reveals the mind to itself. When trust breaks, thoughts swirl in chaos. Writing gives them form. It makes the invisible visible. Every fear, every resentment, every hidden desire. Journaling is not just record-keeping. It is diagnosis. It is saying, here is where the break happened. Here is the fracture line. And once you see it clearly, you can decide, will I repair this, or will I let it stay broken? 3. Negative visualization, preparing the mind. The Stoics practiced imagining loss before it came, not to live in fear, but to live prepared. Marcus Aurelius would wake and remind himself, today I will meet with the treacherous, the deceitful, the ungrateful. This did not make him bitter, it made him ready. When trust is broken, negative visualization helps you accept reality without collapse. Instead of saying, this should never have happened, you say, this too is part of life. Instead of clinging to illusions, you stand in reality. And reality, though cold, is the only soil where dignity can grow again. 4. Voluntary discomfort, training for resilience. Trust collapses when people chase comfort at all costs. Comfort in lies. Comfort in avoidance. Comfort in excuses. The Stoics chose the opposite. They practiced hardship on purpose, sleeping on the floor, wearing simple clothes, eating little when food was abundant. Why? To prove to themselves that they could endure more than they imagined. When betrayal breaks you, voluntary discomfort reminds you, I can survive without what I thought I needed. I can endure loss and still remain whole. Rebuilding trust in yourself, in another, in life demands strength. And strength is forged by discomfort, not ease. 5. Boundaries, trust with wisdom. The Stoics were not naive. They did not place trust blindly. They understood human nature. As Marcus wrote, when someone betrays you, remember they act according to their nature. To rebuild trust does not mean to return to blindness. It means to build boundaries that protect dignity. To say, I forgive, but I do not forget. I open, but not without wisdom. I love, but not without clarity. Boundaries are not walls against others. They are walls that protect your own soul. They keep you from giving away what should not be surrendered. 6. Living by example, the silent proof. Words heal little. Promises fade. But consistent action, this is the silent proof. The Stoics lived in alignment between word and deed. For them, philosophy was not theory. It was daily practice. Rebuilding trust requires the same. Do what you say. Say only what you will do. Show integrity in small things until the small things create a foundation strong enough for the great. You cannot command someone to trust you. You can only live in such a way that trust has no choice but to grow again. Trust broken does not mean trust lost forever. Dignity damaged does not mean dignity destroyed. The Stoics would say, what breaks you is also what can shape you. What wounds you is also what can strengthen you. The framework is simple. Radical honesty, journaling, negative visualization, voluntary discomfort, boundaries, living by example. It is not easy, but neither is betrayal. And if betrayal must come, let it leave you wiser, stronger, and rooted in truth. Trust, once reborn, is stronger. Betrayal is not rare. It visits every life. Sometimes through a partner, sometimes through a friend, sometimes through ourselves. The pain is sharp because trust is fragile. It takes years to build, a moment to shatter. And yet, what shatters can be rebuilt, not in the same shape, not with the same innocence, but with greater strength. The Stoics never promised a world without betrayal. They promised a mind strong enough to face it. They taught us, you cannot stop others from deceiving, but you can stop yourself from living in deception. This is the turning point. The moment when you no longer define yourself by what was broken, you define yourself by what you choose to rebuild. Trust reborn is not naive. It sees clearly. It forgives wisely. It sets boundaries without bitterness. It understands that loyalty is rare, but dignity must never be surrendered. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." So too with betrayal. It stands in your way, but it can also become your way forward. A fire that destroys illusions, yet clears the ground for something true. When you rise from betrayal with clarity, you hold a power others cannot touch. The power of self-respect. The power of discipline. The power of knowing that what was used against you no longer owns you. And in that place, you may find that trust once lost, once broken, can return in a purer form. Not trust in illusions, not trust in perfection, but trust in what endures, integrity, honesty, resilience. So let this be your quiet declaration. What betrayed me has refined me. What wounded me has awakened me. Trust, once reborn, is stronger,